Honestly, I could just be a meme at this point instead. That would just be easier than this.
Hello, Cynthia. We are now recording.
Oh,
Hello, Internet. This is the first ever debate, and it's probably gonna be horrible, but it's fun, and we decided to do it. We were originally planning to post two videos today. One about what is Marxist-Leninism, and two, what is anarcho-capitalism. But we none of us prepared anything, so we just decided to debate.
we needed
Anyways,
to. I need to write a damn script. I'm not debate. I'm not doing that without a script.
I need a slideshow. Anyways, we basically went to ChatGPT and asked it, give us good topics. And it said this thing, and we loved it. Anyways, um, who goes first?
Do you expect me to go first?
Fine, I'll go first. Sit. I'll just open a notepad. So the topic is, are there situations where only a state could prevent collapse? No, there are no situations where only a state could prevent collapse. For example, natural disasters. If a natural disaster occurs in an area, for simplicity, let's say, big wave called tsunami, there's this lovely thing where the market will solve it because people will pay a company to build um, or to build preparations for such a disaster. And if such a disaster occurs, the market in the area will probably flex so that they can make sales and profits out of the area, but which is basically people want to profit off of the disaster, but the best way to profit off of a disaster is to sell things at a cheap price so that lots of people will buy it and you get profit from that. So no, there are no situations where only a state could prevent collapse. Okay, Rio.
Like how you
There.
completely ignore the fact that capitalists are 100% going to make the disaster worse by attempting to profit off of it. Example, the entire example here doesn't make sense when you think about the fact that they could potentially establish a monopoly based on this. So there are goods that are needed, okay. And then there are these companies. What's stopping them from banding together and deciding what we can make a lot of profit out of this if we just decided to collectively artificially raise prices? Then
Oh,
boom,
so
you just
it's
have an
the
economic collapse on your damn hands.
okay. So you're talking about the cartel problem. Do you want to? Do you want to debate this? I'll just explain the refutation to it. What a collusion
Explain
between
it then.
companies is basically the companies that are more efficient are subsidizing companies that are less efficient. So there will always be an incentive for the more efficient companies to undercut their less efficient counterparts by lowering or raising prices so that they can get more profit. That's basically my argument against the cartel problem. Now, the ignoring how companies profiting off of something will make things worse. How can you say that when modern companies is trying to make profits literally gave you the laptop you're using to make that argument?
Oh, here we are again. We're pulling the fucking. Oh, capitalism gave me all of this shit. Okay, so tell me again. A moment here. Why are you so fucking convinced that innovation is just due to capitalist competition? It's not. It's not like capitalism was the one that brought the first satellite into space.
I like how you're ignoring that.
Not done on that. Not
Okay, you're
on done
not
on
done.
that.
Wait,
Okay,
let
so
me
you're going to
let
counter
me take
this
that.
by saying some shit.
Wait, let me take the note.
Done.
Wait,
Now,
yeah.
as I was saying before, just as your system of competition does promote some sort of what do you call that innovation that's purely based for capitalist profit. So an example of this that counters your point is the idea of a collectivized society in which the workers own the majority all of the means of production. They all share a part of it. So like a stock in a company, for example. And they all make collective profits from the labor that they make within the means of production. So they have an incentive to improve because if they improve, they're going to cut their working hours and increase their wages. You can't just say that capitalism is the necessary driving force of innovation.
Okay, so I would like to counter
I'm
with
done.
no. I do not think capitalism is the necessary driving force of innovation. Of course, we invented fire without capitalism, but that doesn't mean that it's much more efficient at innovation. If you if other people are going to profit if other people who did not contribute to the innovation are going to profit off of it, why not simply wait for innovations to occur? Or why not simply say, I will
I
wait
like
for innovations to occur and other people will, and I will profit off of it without contributing? Under
how you're
capitalism,
trying to put
only the people who.
you're trying to put this
I'm not done yet.
into the no, I am speaking because this is so
My
utterly
guy,
stupid
I
that I
let.
can't stop
Fine,
myself.
fine, I'll let
Continue.
you speak.
I like how you're trying to use the idea that individualism is somehow better than collectivism in this specific topic. Because first of
Simple,
all,
because. Fine,
innovation should
fine.
be an improvement to all people. That makes sense. Why are you trying to privatize it and lock it behind other people's bars? So if there are innovations, let's say in making tables obviously for the state to be able to make tables efficiently, they're going to spread this technology out through all of the manufacturing centers. So despite the fact that, oh yes, everybody who didn't contribute gets the profit, it's still the benefit of all because less working hours, higher wages, and overall an increase in productivity. Speak
Okay,
now.
wait. So, what your point was is innovation should be available for all people, and I do not dispute that. However, if you look at which systems had more social innovations, innovations that actually improve the lives of the people, you can look at capitalism. And no, I'm not saying that capitalism is the only system with phones or drinks or soda. I'm saying that if you look at the much more capitalist West, they have, compared to the communist East, they had a much higher standard of living compared to the communist East during the Cold War. Er, And most social innovations that actually did improve people's lives were either widely spread or simply too expensive to make a profit off of and therefore not worth spreading. And therefore, however, I would like to say that this does not mean that the innovation should have been spread, because if you who poured every resource into making an iPad and then suddenly you ran out of steel for tanks, I know this is a bad example, but just saying, into making a modern iPad in 1939, then you wouldn't be able to use innovation for other things, so it would be much better for certain innovations to take longer. Then again, we also have this thing, wait, I have to silence my sisters. Please lower the volume. 10. That was 11. Okay, that's good.
Can I speak now?
Wait, I had to mute some background noise. I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, you speak.
I can speak.
Yes, you can speak.
Okay, so first of all, the standard of living was only higher due to the fact that the rich people had such a high standard of living that it skyrocketed the overall average. Now, that's applicable for today's society. In the past society, there was a middle class, so I can't really use that to describe like World War II. But if I go into modern society, that's the higher case
I
here.
was speaking
And if
of the Cold War. It was
you were
all.
speaking of the Cold War, then yes, I will admit that they had this better standard of living by capitalist West standards. However, this completely ignores the fact these standard of living things were restricted to those who could afford it. Can't say that innovation for all and then put a paywall on it, can you?
I would not say
You're
that it
going to say
was
that
innovation for all. Wait,
that
wait, first
that
say what you were about to say.
was not yet done on my point there. So I'm that's not technically related to innovation. Yes, I know, but to have innovation within like social problems to improve social life, and yet somehow put paywall on that, it doesn't make sense. It's beneficial to society. It only benefits the minority. And another thing, you also said that if this is too expensive to produce, then you shouldn't bother doing it at all. Are you saying that cancer medicine, we shouldn't do that because it's too expensive and it's not worth it at all? Let people die of cancer.
I am not saying that cancer medicine should not be invested in, and I understand companies pouring millions of dollars into it, not because it's profitable at this current time, but because they have a high time preference, which is basically the idea that they're willing to invest millions upon millions if it gains them a higher profit in the future. Or which is essentially a way to say these people are willing to make long term decisions to make innovation, to make future innovations. And sure, paywalls of for innovation only benefit the producers of that. Say, for this example, say someone invents a new phone. Of course, the paywall will only benefit the people with the phone. However, the people with the phone have invested stupendous amounts of resources into developing the phone. Shouldn't they be rewarded with the monetary funds you gain from selling the phone? And even under your system, you don't say everything will be free, which is good. You often say that you'd have a market, which means there would be paywalls, who's just paid to worker co-ops, not companies. Although worker co-ops are basically just companies where workers are
Oh
shareholders,
my
but I won't
God.
get into that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We're going to completely ignore the quote from each according to their ability to each according to their need, are we here? Okay,
Okay,
so
first I
in your
want to push
example
that to
of
the extreme. I want to push that to the
no, you are
extreme
not.
so
No,
bad. No, I
no,
won't do it.
no. If you do,
I don't like
I
to
already
do it.
know how to counter that.
Yes,
I
I
know how to
know.
counter that. So even if you did,
I've seen you do it before. From each
yes.
according to his ability to each
Wait,
according to his need sounds good until you realize is that people
didn't even let me
are.
start my goddamn part, man.
Wait, my sister says hi. Rain, say hi. Hi.
Uh,
Anyways,
you didn't let me finish my part.
okay.
Okay, so as I was saying, from each according to their ability to each according to their need. That is obvious in the logical sense. If you take that sentence, you work to according to your ability and you are given what you need. So in that society, you can there is not going to be a market, there's not going to be paywall because simply by the fact that if you do your labor and if you make a contribution to society, you are going to be paid exactly the amount of labor that you enjoyed. And that It's the part of to each according to his ability. You are going to work to the best of your ability in order to improve society, to improve your life, etc. To each according to their need is obvious enough. You're not going to let people die or starve. You're going to give them at least
Yeah, I
the
know
basic
that peop
necessities such as
Fine. Wait.
so this man is going to he's going to counter the part if I include education and housing, so we're going to ignore that. Going to focus on basic necessities such as food, for example. So in food, best way to do this is simply have these people who work a lot, use a lot of food, and then those people who don't do as much work, but they still provide a significant contribution to society, be able to
I will
buy
let
that
you
food
speak,
based
but
on the
I would
labor that
like
they did.
for you to
And that
object.
will go
I like how you're saying that people will
object
work for
during your
food.
turn.
Okay, fine. Anyways,
Because
why
first of
did
all,
we.
I'm not even fucking done yet.
Fine, wait.
Why
We
we need
went
an
so off
arbiter. You
topic.
keep cutting in, and I continue to try to respect this. Jesus Christ.
I
We need
like
an
how you're.
arbiter for the next debate to keep cutting in.
Fair enough. And I just realized we went horribly off topic. We we went from are there situations where only a state could prevent collapse to how well would our systems work for innovation? What happened?
I mean, that's still a pretty good debate. Not gonna lie,
Fair enough.
a
We'll
pretty
just
good
cut
debate
out
topic.
the.
Okay, how
Okay,
long
so
has the recording been?
16 minutes. 17 minutes actually.
Oh my
Any
god.
Okay. So to
You
each
know what?
accord
Uh,
from each according to their ability to each according to their need can be fulfilled under capitalism. You just have to look at the lodge system in America. If you want evidence, I can share screen it to you. Uh, it
Okay.
was
Okay. So, are we gonna completely ignore the fact that capitalism always leads to wealth inequality in which capital is accumulated towards the higher classes? So, no, this is not gonna be each according to their ability, each according to their need, because there's always going to be that one class of people who have enough capital to just not work. Not gonna
okay.
work,
So
and then
I
they're
would
not going
like
to
to
do
say,
what they can to their ability. No, I already know. I already have a feeling you're going to counter this by saying that they do stuff such as management, etc., etc.
oh no,
Yes,
they do this.
management
Wait,
is an important job. Why do you keep fucking cutting in?
are you done?
How many times did I cut into you? Tell me.
Fair enough. Keep going.
So, a common argument on your side is going to say like they do management and etc. However, management can be done through, as said, worker cooperatives, which it's more democratic. Now, obviously, this system is not going to be the most perfect, but it's still going to be a little more equal compared to just say, let's say, having a manager do everything, because it has been proven by multiple statistics that people are better at working without having management oversight. And even if there are some cases where they do need management oversight, why do you need it to be in the hands of a capitalist? Sure, a bureaucrat is not going to be the best option, but if you put laws in place in order to enforce their accountability, their transparency, then that shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Wait,
You can
I'm
speak.
going to make a note of that.
I know you're taking this so seriously, and yet I'm just reading a book about anime.
No, I've literally been bouncing a ball against the wall for the past 13 minutes. And yes, I
Good.
counted. Okay, so first,
You counted the
I want
minutes.
to dismantle bureaucrats can be accountable using the US Constitution because why not? Okay, so you want to do this? First, the government often uses corporate proxies to fight freedom of speech and avoid the First Amendment by essentially outsourcing it to social media companies and saying, include this in your or terms of service that you will censor these people. That is stupid. Any laws that are made will of course have loopholes built into them so that bureaucrats may do what they want. Otherwise, what you're rejecting that bureaucrats and lawmakers are self-interested individuals who want to who secure their own gain and influence, and unlike the market, you are forced onto they are forced onto you instead of you being able to choose which one you get. Okay, I'm going off topic here. My point is bureaucrats cannot be accountable. If they were accountable, the US would be a much different and much better place today. Eh, even with in even with insane amounts of anti-corruption laws and the US Constitution being essentially the government will leave you alone pretty much. You still have to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars to start a small business, and you say that bureaucrats can be accountable? Well, if you look at any
Oh,
government with a
yeah,
constitution,
continue.
every time you have a okay, wait, let me pause a bit. If you look at any government with a constitution, you will see that all of them forsake the idea that that their constitutions were supposed to have. In the US, the government was supposed to be so close was to anarchy that that it would practically not matter save for the enforcement of rights. But if you look at the modern day, I don't think that is you can't start a small business as in the US without bankrupting yourself. You can't save money because of central bank inflation, and then you call bureaucrats accountable when they are the ones who've created that. And to say, well, laws will
Hey,
keep them in place, constitutions were supposed to keep them in place, and they didn't. Worker co-ops can manage. I should delete that from this debunk because worker co-ops can manage. However, I don't believe that violent redistribution of property, which was rightfully gained under the principles of non-aggression, should be redistributed just because of equality, especially when the government mm, does it much worse than a private company would. And I would also like to say that at capitalists, especially entrepreneurial capitalists, often are rewarded with profit and capital accumulation for correctly predicting future demand and needs and producing the resources needed to meet those future demand and needs accordingly. Anyways,
okay, so you're done?
I just realized
Done?
yeah, I'm done.
Okay, so first of all, you do realize that the reason why these bureaucrats are so untouchable is because of the amount of capital being funded to them by the rich elite that you seem to praise so much. Now, I know you're going to say
Wait, wait,
you're not a part of the elite, but for the sake of the matter, they are capitalists and therefore they are within your jurisdiction. So, let's see. Oh, looky here. I
wait.
want,
I want to clarify first.
want this one.
I do not
Okay,
support
fine.
the rich elite, especially the
I know.
modern rich elite.
Just said they are
You yourself
capitalists.
would not say that.
Said they are capitalists,
And
meaning that they
no,
are
I did
technically
not.
still a part of your clique.
I would say that
But
I
you're only
support.
not supportive of them because they support the state, aren't you?
I am not supportive of them because the state funds them. Very different
I
things.
no,
If you look at the
no.
state giving privileges to them, no. I do not support them. They are
Yes, they're
legally
being given
privileged.
privileges due to the fact that they are funding the government with such an insane amount of capital flow that has been stolen off of the workers. So let's see. Oh, this bureaucrat is about to get impeached by the people. Oh, no worries. He's just going to sign a contract with this capitalist. He's going to get that money, and then that capitalist is going to use every single connection he has to ensure that this man does not get ousted from power. You are ignoring the fact that these bureaucrats are seemingly untouchable due to the fact that these capitalists are funding them at every single turn they make. So yes, bureaucrats can be self-interested, but that self-interest can only be funded through the self-interest of other people such as capitalists. We remove the factor of bureaucrats being untouchable due to the accumulation of capital, then they would still be completely subject to the laws within the state. Now, I'm not done. You're not allowed to interject. I had a feeling you were going to interject there.
No, I'm taking
So I will
notes.
continue on. I will continue my point from there. So, for example, this bureaucrat does not have any sort of capital. He starts being corrupt. So, that way, continue. I lost my train of thoughts there for a moment. Anyway, so this bureaucrat decides he wants to be
Wait.
corrupt. So
I
he's going
need
to
you
do that. What?
to clarify. Did you say bureaucrats should not have capital or bureau or oh wait, you were using an example, weren't you?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Saying
Sorry.
that this bureaucrat doesn't have a lot of capital. They don't have the money in order to influence these big ass fucking media companies in order to do this public image. So if he starts deciding to be corrupt, he's gonna get exposed pretty quickly because first of all, he doesn't have the money to form connections. Two, he is vulnerable due to the fact that he cannot get the capital necessary in order to shield him and block him from the public perception. And then three, he's just going to be ousted from power to a vote because he's not going to bribe the other bureaucrats because he has no money. Now, where does this money come from in order for him to become corrupt? Yes, the capitalists. The main problem is bureaucrats cannot be held accountable due to the simple fact that capitalists fund their movement. So you say that a constitution cannot work because, as we can see, US was supposed to be a libertarian or anarchist sort of government, and today
No,
it's
I'm
not.
fair.
I'm going to reiterate the point here that there were people within the government, rich people and capitalists who wanted to profit off of the fact that there was a government. Let's say Alexander Hamilton. He was the one who centralized the United States and established the federal government. And he was filthy fucking rich from this because he created the central bank and all of that stuff that you also hate. These bureaucrats wanted to get rich because capitalism. If they were working for the collective good of, let's say, the people, they wouldn't have the incentive of becoming rich. The system they were incentivized to become rich. They were incentivized to make profit. So what they did exactly that. They made a shit ton of money off of it. And that's why US is in the state that it's in right now. They made a shit ton of money, and that cycle just kept perpetuating itself due to the fact that this capital would be handed down towards generations in order to continue that system of bureaucrat corruption and bending of laws in order to grab more capital and subjugate the people.
First, let me get water. My throat hurts. I coughed way too hard. Give me like 3 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. First, I was going to clarify no. Oh, I did not say the US was supposed to be anarchist, it was supposed to be a minimal government, but ignoring that because it's a minor point. Wait,
Boo!
stop. Wait. No. First, bureaucrats manipulate companies with money. No, they do not. They manipulate companies using regulations. In fact, a bureaucrat is much more effective in manipulating companies
May I
when they
ask a
regulate other
clarification?
countries. Okay,
Ask a
for example,
clarification?
what? Okay.
May I ask a clarification?
Yes, I said okay.
Okay, so yes, I do agree that bureaucrats will enforce the laws of restriction on other companies, but are we going to ignore the fact that usually this is in order to increase their self-wealth in order that they can continue doing these laws, or there is usually a backer of, let's say, a different company that wants to kill off this other company?
Okay, so I like how you're saying that bureaucrats are funded by companies while at the same time saying companies pay that bureaucrats pay companies. No, that's a bit circular, wouldn't you
Both at the
think?
same
Wouldn't it
time.
be better for them to just keep their capital in the same place? Other than that, bureaucrats manipulate companies not with money but with regulation. For example, let's say a cereal company, for simplicity, wants to wants is getting outcompeted by an upstart started by an entrepreneur, right? But the entrepreneur is outcompeting them because they have much better tasting stuff for much a cheaper price, and however, and their food is much healthier. However, companies can merely lobby the bureaucrats that's to add regulations upon the new company that is outcompeting the old inefficient company for, let's say, the excuse that they provide is health risks, which seems to be a big thing these days. Next, bureaucrats are untouchable because of capitalists. No, they are untouchable because of unchecked state power, which you seem to be wanting to give them. Mm, Any system that gives more, that gives government, which is the organization which I cannot say, no, I don't want to listen to you. I am forced to listen to them. Any system which gives them that power, or more than what is absolutely necessary, is of course going to have an untouchable class of bureaucrats and state parasites. It's because you can't leave, you can't opt out of it. it saying saying my socialism to fix that is, sorry for the wording, dumb. Because hey now, socialism does not fix corruption. Giving the government more power does not fix corruption. And it's like saying the medicine poisoned you, so you should take two more doses. Is And then bureaucrats under socialism working for the collective good is wrong. They will work for their own good. And you might say, well, their own good is the collective good. That's like saying that the individual is the collective. If you're saying that you will provide incentives for them to work for the collective good so that they will at the same time be working for their own good, isn't that what a capitalist is? Someone who provides a good or a service is to other people in exchange for profit. So you're essentially turning bureaucrats into the capitalists you hate.
You done?
Wait, I'm finding more things in my notes because I'm too lazy to remember it properly. Bureaucrats being saved by the rich is technically correct, but I would like to say this. If bureaucrats were if the rich were the ones who saved bureaucrats, then the USSR would have been a much more liberal place. Anyways, I'm done now.
Okay, so first off, when you're talking about the fact that, oh, hey, there's this new company that's outperforming this old company, you're kind of forgetting the fact that the new company has very little capital in order to keep itself afloat because it's a startup. Even if you say that it's a
Oh,
medium-sized
wait.
company at this point, if you're going to compare it to a larger company, this larger company is going to be able to go up to a bureaucrat and say, this guy is threatening my hold on the market. Here's some money. Make sure that this guy dies due to your bureaucracy, so that way I can continue making money and my monopoly. Oh yes, yes, that's what's going to happen. These bureaucrats are going to be paid by the capitalists. It's not that the bureaucrats are going to restrict capitalists in order for them to gain more wealth. It's going to be, let's say, parasitic sort of relationship between these companies who are old enough to have enough capital to sustain the bureaucrats and have existed for a longer time compared to these startups. There's going to be this relationship between them, this bureaucrat and then this capitalist. Then there's going to be this guy, let's call him an entrepreneur, who's going to start a new business, which threatens that capitalist due to the fact that this capitalist has existed for a long time, has many connections, and all of this money. He's just going to throw money at the bureaucrat to solve the problem. You can't say that this bureaucrat is going to enforce regulations in order to increase his own power because, well, the rich already have enough wealth to stop that. They can completely shut down any sort of increase in bureaucratical power if they are threatening their interests. So let's say these people in the government want to become richer, so they increase taxes on companies. But the only way that they're going to be able to do that is if they increase taxes on small companies. If they increase taxes with corporations, the corporations are going to fund pour money into having people protest, riot, and overall just collapse the entire government. And
Mm.
this relationship of bureaucrats and capitalists to work, there obviously needs to be a state. Now, you're going to argue that the solution to this is removing the state entirely. So you remove the bureaucrats from from the entire equation. So tell me, what exactly is stopping these massive companies with all of this wealth stomp out all of the entrepreneurs by using money or and then instead of innovating it's going to be stagnant, and even if you say that no, that's not going to happen because better performance, better goods, that means this guy is obviously going to be more successful. What's stopping that company from just buying out this company and claiming that tech and then continuing their monopoly while forcefully changing prices in order to increase their wealth, cutting wages in order for them to gain more power and wealth. And if there's this company who provides higher wages, then just buy out that company, or in other words, use your capital in order to restrain them, restrict them, and kill them off before you manage to gain enough capital in order to combat yours. Not yet
Okay, so
done.
for
I could feel an in I can feel an into the objection. I am not yet done. Continuing on my point there. Even in this society that you envision, there's going to be innovation, there's going to be some wage increases, but it's just going to be uh monarchical sort of relationship between the rich and the poor. The rich, they're just gonna have all this power, all this wealth, all this capital within their hands, and then the majority of people are going to be left to fend for scraps. Now, even if you say that, oh no, you can just rise through hard work and determination, you're going to be blocked. You're going to be locked at a certain point in which you are starting to threaten these capitalists' interests. The only possible way you can rise through these ranks is if you become subservient to the existing established capitalist class. So even then, and when you break that barrier, you're just going to be stuck within this cliche group of new capitalists who are serving the old capitalists that are above. Now, if these old capitalists die, it's either their wealth will be passed on to this, or one of the new capitalists becomes the old capitalist and continues perpetuating this cycle. No, you're not creating a new society that will eliminate all of the problems that the state has. You're exacerbating them by allowing these people to have more capital and more power than they could even ever know what to do with. So that comes to my point
First,
of
I would like to raise
our
an
system
objection.
wants to abolish
If the
the,
rich rule in
and I,
an
we did, wipe out has left. Did we agree to objections? We agreed to clarifications. How many
wait,
times did I object when you were speaking? Okay.
fine.
How many?
I
Tell
would
me.
like to ask a simple question. If the rich rule in
Okay, go.
Ancapistan, then why aren't they funding the institutes that push for anarcho-capitalism? If they really have
Well,
so
that's
much
such a
power
simple
in a world without,
clarification.
if they really have
Actually,
so
such a
much power,
simple fucking question. They're not going to bother doing the coercion themselves. Why do you think the state exists for them? No, it's not
exactly, if
going
they,
to be efficient or profitable for them to do all of this stuff themselves. So they're going to keep the state within them. But I'm saying that they can completely do that themselves if they wanted to. It's just simply not profitable currently. But if, let's say, it suddenly becomes profitable, then what's stopping these capitalists from hiring a bunch of mercenaries, overthrowing the government, and doing this exact same system? Capitalists of today need the government so they can rely on its coercion, its power at making monopolies. These capitalists need the state. That's a simple fact. It's a parasitic relationship between them. If we were to throw the state out of the equation, they still have all of that money in order to do exactly what I just described. The only thing that's stopping them is realizing that the state is already doing all of this for us, and by taxing people from the lower ground, they're not taxing us. We're not losing money. We're not the ones funding this. They're taking money from these poor people and using that to fund themselves. So why not just let them do their job? And
okay,
these
so first,
capitalists
if it,
are going to profit off of that.
are you done? Because I'm getting confused if you pause. Are you done?
No,
Speak then.
not done. I
You've been
say when
quiet
I'm
for
done, my
30
guy.
seconds.
I was
You've been.
ranting the entire time. Did your audio mute?
No, I did not mute. I'm waiting
Okay, then good.
patiently till you're done, though I have objections. Keep going.
Okay, fine.
My
I'm
notepad is
continuing
getting
on
too
that
big.
fact. So this system of governance, it makes it profitable for these capitalists to have a state. However, if let's say that the state becomes too big and the people get infuriated, then the capitalists can simply just say this is not profitable anymore and then do this. But however, that is not the decay of the state naturally. It's the decay of the state due to the fact that it has become non-usable for the capitalist class. I am not saying that that is the natural order in which things will go, because the people can still take state power and smash these capitalists. So I am not suggesting that the decay is a natural course. I'm saying it's a course that will happen if we continue the capitalist path. So you cannot counter my point by saying, "Oh, look, he admitted to the state being obsolete in the next few years." The state will only become obsolete once the capitalists have drained all of the usefulness from it. Okay, fine, I'm done.
Okay, you say it's not profitable to do it in Ancapistan, then why would they have so much power? And you might say, well, will hire a bunch of warlords and mercenaries to do that. Do you not understand how expensive it is to hire soldiers compared to just get the guns yourself? An armed populace, which would definitely exist in Ancapistan without your governments restricting our guns, would definitely be able to resist a capitalist class attempting to who oppress them with a private army. Other than that, we have this issue of wait, I can hear background noise from you. Can I keep going or do you have something to do?
Continue. I was getting
Okay.
bored, so I was ordering from DoorDash. Continue.
Okay. Uh, a bit longer. Wait a bit, I need to fix my notes. Anyways, if you I like how you're assuming the re-emergence of the state in Anakapistan via a private corporation. I would like you to note that the only reason we can have like 1 million men in an army nowadays is because of taxes making it base is because of taxes, and a private corporation would not be able to afford, and one or two private corporations by themselves is not capable of affording the um, the size or
Can
scale
I
of the state army.
clarify that?
Fine, can
Can I
clarify.
clarify that?
Yeah, clarify that if you want.
Okay, so let's look at the wealth of all of the people in the United States, rich elite combined. Would you look at that?
Wait,
It's near impossible not expensive to hire a private army. It is definitely possible within this select group of people to do that. Now, I know you're going to counter my point by saying that, oh no, the citizens will have guns in order to protect their property rights. Are we forgetting that I am creating a simulation in which the state becomes obsolete and the capitalists take over? I'm not suggesting, I haven't suggested the fact that your idealistic anarcho-capitalist society with all of its values have happened, saying that the capitalists have taken control by the state dissolving itself. So no, these people will probably not have guns, not a lot of them anyway. And since the capitalists own majority of the manufacturing, I don't see where they're going to get the guns in order to protest this.
anyways, I like how you said corporations will take over the government. So it's basically one violent corporation replacing another. Okay, thank you. That's basically just a government replacing a government. So you're essentially saying the government will do this. Wanna know why I consider it a government? Simple. Now that they have a monopoly on force, they can basically enact the same things the government does and become a government. You fail to factor that into your simulation. Then it would return to a government if a corporation overthrew the government, because it's much more profitable to be a government than to be a corporation. I would like to say that. Outside of that,
Aha! Okay, okay. So look at where
wait,
you do realize you
I'm
just
not done.
contradicted yourself here. You have
What?
just contradicted yourself here. Do you want me to explain it now or later?
Explain it now, I need to know.
Okay, so you just contradicted yourself due to the simple fact that you said that, oh, look, it's just going to become another government. So you do admit that the parasitic relation between the capitalists and the bureaucrats is a necessary evil in order for these people to continue making money. Now, I'm going to assume from your
I
values
am
that
not
you are
done
going
yet.
to completely abolish. You said I would clarify, so I'm just clarifying my point here.
I'm gonna give you one
Point
minute.
from that is that the point I was saying here is capitalists and bureaucrats need each other in order to make a profit. If we were to create the Ancapistan that you were doing, this would not create. that much of a profit. So obviously the rich people are going to block this by using the bureaucrats. And if the bureaucrats oppose them or they become obsolete, they're going to replace them. So the government will never cease to exist unless you had, let's say, a violent uprising. But that violent uprising will never happen based from the bourgeois. It's not going to happen from reactionary forces because they can simply suppress it through money, bribery, media manipulation, etc. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, so first, I never said that Ancapistan would need a violent uprising. In fact, all Ancapistan needs is for people to become libertarians, and it will happen naturally, simply due to the fact that people will not allow you to collect your taxes once they decide that they don't want you to collect your taxes anymore. I would like you will say, well, the government will suppress them. No. When the majority of the people who will likely be armed, because libertarians love to do this thing called bypassing gun laws, as it will
Yes, so you
likely
just
end up
contradicted
being a
yourself again.
what?
You contradicted yourself again. Said there was no need for a violent uprising, and yet now you are saying that there will be a
Fine,
violent uprising due to the fact that they will have guns and they will fight against the state. So what do you is that's non-violence? Really?
I want to clarify.
I want you to
I want
clarify that. Clarify it.
fine. Technically, yes, violent, but not in the way a socialist revolution would go. Oh no, the government would not win, not because we amassed into an army, but because we provided the decentralized resistance. So fine, violent if you want to, who call it that. But there's other options.
Another
There's no
thing,
need for it. Wait, I'm not done. And
continue,
damn
fine,
it, we
continue.
switched topics again, but let's keep going. Uh, there is no need for it. All you need to do is erode trust in the state, and people will eventually. He just. Wait. Frick. Let me get water.
And so while he's gone, I'm just going to say to you viewers that first of all, the corporations would not let libertarians take a majority. First of all, his idea of the libertarian revolution happening is so unrealistic. Second of all, these corporations are obviously not gonna let the government lose the trust of the people. He's just stupid for assuming that. Anyway,
Okay, where was I? I forgot again. Ah, yeah, the violent revolution thing. You see, I've actually thought of this thing. This lovely thing called you can ignore the government. Most libertarians would actually say that yes, this is true. Simply due to the fact that if enough people decide that they don't want the government and understand that enough people don't want the government, you can simply secede. Although you could technically
silent. Are
end
you
up.
done?
Damn it, we're off topic. We've spent an hour debating things that were not related to the original topic. Should we just pick a
I
topic
don't
that
really
was
care. I don't really care. I'm
fine?
gonna continue this.
I
So
am not.
you're going to say that, oh yes, you need a majority
Wait,
of people
I
to
want to
just
make this clear.
undermine.
Wait, I want to make this clear.
Fine, go for
I
it.
cannot come
Go.
up with a good way to say what this debate is, so I'm just not gonna post it because I can't figure out what we're debating anymore. We're just arguing over random things. A debate needs
Ju-
to have a focused
This is
topic.
literally just us. Literally, just
Exactly.
post it as